Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be taking a look at Sharon Duncan Brewster, who is confirmed as the gender-swapped Liet Kynes in DUNE. Now, myself and Midnight Sage have both actually revealed this long before this was revealed. Now, I said I was going to be talking about this in a few other videos released today, and there was a lot of apprehension about me touching on this, due to apparently me, kind of, I guess, swelling the narrative of it being woke. Now, that's not what I'm going to do here, but if I didn't cover this, I wouldn't be objective. This is all about objectivity, okay? Now, I remain massively optimistic for this film, and I'm happy to say it, but I will equally be as happy to say if I'm wrong and the film's garbage, like I have done with many other films. But it's just all about objectivity. It's so you guys can actually watch my videos and know that at the very least I remain who I am, and I am still being as honest as I possibly can, regardless of my own personal optimism on films, if that makes sense. It's all about having, as much credibility as possible. That's what I try to do here. But anyway, let's check it out, okay? Now, from my sources and also from Midnight Sage sources, we'd all heard that this change wasn't for a woke agenda, okay? However, the comments which were brought out in the Vanity Fair article does indicate that. So it could be that this is virtue signaling, right? So I'm going to lean more towards what my sources and Midnight Sage sources have said, which is it's not for any agenda. And I'm going to say, potentially, because we'll explore Devil's Advocate in a second, that the change and the comments, they're just virtue signaling, okay? Just to get people on side. Because inherently, DUNE has a lot of female representation and a lot of strong females. In fact, the Bene Gesserit are powerful. Although certain things that they do, certain things that they plan don't actually come to fruition, right? So it doesn't really need this. So it is interesting that they changed it. But let's get into the article, and then we'll kind of touch on some bits and pieces. And this article will be linked down below. Now, the upcoming DUNE film will feature a race and gender swap Liet Kynes, with Sharon Duncan Brewster playing the character. Now, she's not a good actress, okay? So that's my first, not really on board with this. She's not a particularly good actress, so that's where my first sort of concerns arrive. But again, let's get into it. Not only will the character feature this race and gender swap, but comments from the cast and director indicate that the film will be woke. And again, I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I will admit it, I'll hold my hands up when, if it turns out and it is actually woke, I will say, yeah, no, I was wrong. But I would say I think this is virtue signaling. I think they know that, this has been the narrative for a while. I'm going to hope anyway. God damn, I hope so. It'd be nice to have a film which is good for a change, wouldn't it? The character had previously been portrayed by Max von Sydow in David Lynch's 1984 adaptation of DUNE. Now, this interpretation was actually pretty much bang on from what the books were. It was a pretty damn good one. Carol Dobry portrayed the character in Sci-Fi Channel's 2000 miniseries adaptation of the book, and Vanity Fair confirmed that the gender and race swap sharing an image of Brewster as Kynes, seen below, which I've shown you anyway. Now, Frank Herbert, DUNE's author, described Kynes in the book as tall, thin, long, sandy hair, and a sparse beard, and the eyes were that fathomless blue within blue under thick brows. But it's not that, is it? Let's be honest. Now, he further described the character. His long hair and beard were mussed. The blue eyes without whites were a darkness under heavy brows. I said, wisps of sandy hair protruded from it, matched with a sparse beard. and thick brows. Beneath the blue within blue eyes remains of a dark stain spread down to his cheeks, a matted depression across moustache, and beard showed where a stillsuit tube had marked out its path. So, yeah. Now, obviously it says, Bounding into Comics first reported on gender swap Liet Kynes at the end of July last year. I can't remember when I reported on it. I think me and Midnight Sage done it around the same time, or thereabouts anyway. Or maybe just, I think I was just after. Now, Vanity Fair claims that the gender swap is an intriguing change, which it's not. You don't have to be... This isn't about being triggered. We all know that there's no point in changing this character. There's very little reason in doing it. Now, obviously it says Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve updated Liet Kynes. Didn't need updating. Now, Brewster commented on her role as Liet Kynes. This is where we get the virtue signalling, indicating that the film will be woke. She stated, what Denis had stated to me was there was a lack of female characters in his cast, and he had always been very feminist, pro-women, and wanted to write the role for a woman. Now, let's analyse that, right? There are a lot of women in the cast of Dune. So these comments to me don't actually make any sense, okay? And again, you only have to look at it to know that. So I don't really know where he's getting these comments from, where she's getting these comments from. This is where I lean more towards the fact that I think it's virtue signalling. And then obviously he goes on and says, he's very feminist, pro-women, and wanted to write the role for a woman. Well, you only have to look at Blade Runner 2049 to show that he's not traditionally feminist or ultra pro-woman, right? He's got women being prostitutes. He's got women being murdered and sacrificed just for the sake of it. Yes, there is an overarching narrative in the film about women and the creation of life and how life is precious and etc. But you wouldn't inherently say that that's a feminist movie. So I genuinely think this is virtue signalling, and I'm going to go on a limb, and I think this has been told to him as a directive from Warner Brothers. Because you've got to remember, right, this is a big risk of a movie for Warner Brothers to do. They're splitting the book into 2 films. They've already okayed and essentially greenlit the second film as per this Vanity Fair article that we're working with now. I would imagine they've said, yeah, we'll do all of this, but you do have to do this, this, and this. And he's gone, right, okay, fine. I'm going to guess that's why, but I could be wrong, and I will hold my hands up when I am, or if I am. Now, Brewster added that this human being manages to basically keep the peace amongst many people. Women are very good at that. Well, that's bollocks anyway. So why can't Kynes be a woman? Why shouldn't Kynes be a woman? Look, women are as good as keeping the peace as men are. This narrative nonsense of women are very good at that. Men and women are very good at that. So no, that's nonsense. Now, why can't Kynes be a woman? Why shouldn't Kynes be a woman? Well, again, it doesn't take an Einstein to figure that out. It shouldn't be a woman because it wasn't in the books. There's also some perspectives of characters becoming friendly with one another and having an attachment with one another because their parents, their mothers specifically, have died. So yeah, this is a bit dumb. It is a bit dumb. Again, I'm still optimistic for this film, but again, it's about credibility. It's about being objective. This is a dumb change. Now, Villeneuve would also discuss the film, describing its narrative as a critique of capitalism. Now, that is nothing different really from the book, to be fair. I would not say that that's a huge deal at all. The book itself and the books overall cover very, very mature political themes. This does not indicate that it's woke in the slightest at all. Now, he explained, no matter what you believe, Earth is changing and we'll have to adapt. Well, that's kind of a fact. Villeneuve then added, that's why I think that Dune, this book, was written in the 20th century. It was a distant portrait of the reality of the oil and the capitalism and the exploitation, the overexploitation of Earth. Well, look, you only have to have a remote perspective of the setting of this book to realise that it is that, that is what it's about, right? It is about that. So I don't, again, no alarm bells. Don't be alarmed by this. This is book stuff. Now, he concluded that today things are just worse. It's a coming-of-age story, but also a call for the action for the youth. Now, this is where I say I think it's virtue signalling, because what is he doing here? He's talking about, climate change, capitalism, and youngsters. I think this is genuinely virtue signalling. I think this is the next kind of trend that we're going to see in Hollywood. And you may disagree, and I may be wrong, but I think this will be the next thing. Okay, we've seen the whole Me Too movement. We've seen the rise of women, strong women, all of this kind of stuff. And this is what happens in Hollywood. It's genuinely what happens. I think we are now going to start to see youth power movies and all about climate change and things like that, capitalism. I think they're going to think that this is the next ticket to big money. That's my hot prediction. It always happens with Hollywood. Okay, this is nothing new. And I think this is going to be the next one. Now, if you thought... And again, there's no point talking about, the Greta Thunberg comparison. That wasn't by DUNE. That was by the person who wrote the Vanity Fair article. There's no point in quoting that. Now, Villeneuve also described changes to Baron Harkonnen. I like this, actually. I don't see what's wrong with this at all. So, Baron Harkonnen, who's played by Stellan Skarsgård, he explained, as much as I deeply love the book, I felt that the Baron was flirting very often with caricature. Which, yeah, he was. Again, he was, right? Some things don't translate massively well. So an overzealous characterization so he becomes a caricature, there's nothing wrong with changing that so he's more fearsome, right? He is the villain. So there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. From a narrative perspective, that makes perfect sense. He continued and he said, I tried to bring him a bit more dimension. That's why I brought in Stellan. Stellan has something in the eyes. You feel that there's someone thinking. That has tension and is calculating inside, deep in the eyes. I can testify, it can be quite frightening. Those are positive comments. Now, there's not much else. Talking about Ferguson, described a character. She's a mother, she's a concubine, she's a soldier. All of this kind of stuff, not such a huge issue. Ferguson then said Denis was very respectful of Frank's work in the book, but the quality of the arcs for much of the women have been brought up to a new level. And this is the thing, I think they were trying to... You got to remember, they are doing a Bene Gesserit Sisterhood series. So I think some of this is to prep them for that. And this is why I think some of this stuff has been included by Warner Brothers. This is why I'm saying I think some of this has been decreed from on high. Now, Villeneuve does note that creating Dune is the most difficult thing he's done. And he did say, it's a book that tackles politics, religion, ecology, spirituality, and with a lot of characters. And that's why he did say he's going to do it in 2 installments. So, look, I think this... I'm going to probably title this video like, is it woke or something like that. I don't know. It'll rile people up, I know. But, it is a genuine question. And my argument is that it's not. I know there'll be a lot of people that will consider it definitely woke. And I know there's a lot of people that are tuned out to it. But as with all these things, ultimately, the majority of you people will probably end up watching it on download or at home and streaming anyway. So just give it a chance. As with most of these things, it's important just to go in with an open mind, or try to, at the very least. When I think of a movie which I'm especially going to hate, right? Terminator Dark Fate being one of them. I absolutely thought I was going to absolutely really hate that film. I went to watch it with fans on opening day because I thought, right, if I'm going to get any amount of this review being unbiased, it'll be being surrounded by fans. It was the same with The Rise of Skywalker. I watched it at a midnight showing with fans, and that helps you enter into an unbiased state if you think that you're going to be super biased. So some of these times, going in with a clear mind is important. And some of these decisions are definitely nonsensical, but, Denis' body of work doesn't scream woke to me. So I'm going in with a clear mind, and I remain somewhat positive. I do remain optimistic, but inevitably some of this stuff is just nonsense. I mean, look at the bloody difference. He, looks like it could be of the great Aryan race, for God's sake. Right? She, clearly not. So it doesn't take a genius to figure this out, that some of this is total BS. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Hopefully some of this will kind of clear your mind a little bit. And again, I do think some of this is just virtue signaling. I don't think this is actually the reasons why things were done. I just think it's from on high. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Please do check out my original short film. It is being crowdfunded. It's down below in the description box. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this film made. Look, we're talking about woke things and stuff like that. This is going to be the most masculine film you've seen. Blood, gore, knights, Vikings, everything. Loss of swords, etc. Alright, no women actually, believe it or not. Not that I can really give you kind of spoilers or anything like that. But it's not going to be woke. So support it. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Mr. H. Take care.